What up, nerds? In this video I want to cover how we can actually use a new plugin that is currently in active development to write C# inside of Unreal Engine. Now, the goal of this plugin is to replace the blueprint scripting aspect of Unreal. So anything that is exposed to Blueprint should be accessible inside of C#. Again, I do want to stress that this is an in development plugin. Now, if you want to support this channel, you can check out my Steam developer page that I'll have linked in the description below, Nullpaw Studios, and check out the games that I have been working on. Let's go ahead and get started. So right here, what I have is a basic starter third-person template that is in Blueprint. One of the first things you want to do is go to the Unreal Sharp GitHub repository, and I'll have a link in the description below for this as well. And then you just want to clone this, or if you want to just download it via a zip file, you can do that. And then what we want to do is go to where our project is, create your plugins folder, and then you want to put it right here inside of your plugins folder. There's going to be multiple ways that you can do this in the future, but for right now, the best way to go about it is treat this like any other C++ style plugin. Now, once we have that, we need to actually convert this into a C++ project. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Minimize this. And if you have a Blueprint project, all you need to do is come up here to Tool, New C++ class. You can do a basic none, that's fine. And then I'll just name this placeholder. And then I do like to have the public-private separation. Create class. And this is going to convert your Blueprint project into a C++ project. Now, if you started with the C++ project, you won't need to do this extra step, and you will be able to just open your C++ project and build the plugin. So this is adding the code. All right. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and close this down. Open up Writer. You can use Visual Studio as well. I'm going to use Writer. And then let's just go ahead and navigate to it. With Writer, you can actually open the U project instead of the solution, but with Visual Studio, for the time being, you do need to open through the solution, but they are working on U project support. So then I'll go ahead and open up the U project, and then Writer is gonna do its little indexing and all that fun stuff. But what we should see in here is the plugin. Then we'll also have the source once Writer finishes loading. Alright, so I went ahead and paused the video while it was doing that, and as you can see here, I have the source up and all that fun stuff. So now what I'm gonna go do, I'm gonna go into the U project, and I'm going to go to the plugin section and see, I'm going to enable the plugin. Now, at the time of this recording, it is called C# for UE. This was its old name, and it is supposed to be getting changed to just be Unreal Sharp, so you may have to go with that name. Now, once that is done, I'm just going to come up here and press build, and it may take some time depending on your machine, but when you build this, the program inside of the C# plugin will actually generate the C# classes and methods that you will be able to use. And this even includes C++ that you wrote for your game. Alright, so I did pause the recording again to let that build. Everything went well. Now, when you launch the project after adding the plugin and activating it, you'll be prompted with this message from the plugin saying, hey, there is no C# project. Would you like to create one? If you click yes, it'll take you to another dialog that will allow you to create one. But I'm going to show you what happens if you click no. All you need to do is come up to the little drop down up here that is provided by the plugin and click new C# project. And then we can name this whatever we want by, if you clicked yes in that previous prompt, it would have been managed, then whatever your name is. So whatever your project's name is. In my case, my project name is .NET Tut, so it would have been managed .NET Tut. All right, and then when you create this, it's going to create it inside of this new script folder. So we'll go ahead and create that. And then it'll launch that solution for you. And then we do need to click that. And now we are inside of our C# project. You can have multiple projects in here, and they're all going to be relying on this project glue project. So what we can also do is launch the project from the C# solution. So I'm going to come up here and click stop. That'll close that down. And by the way, I forgot to mention, the first time I clicked to open the solution, it didn't register because the Unreal Editor kind of freezes a little bit, and it has that little text overlaid, that the open button click, and you just have to move that dialog up a little bit, and then you press OK and everything will be fine. So now inside of here we have our project. Let's go ahead and create a basic class. So I'm going to hit Alt Insert, create class, and I'm just going to call this example actor. Now by default, Writer or Visual Studio, even VS Code, has no knowledge of the fact that you're trying to write in Unreal Sharp. So we're going to inherit from a actor. Now we do want to follow the same naming nomenclature as well, and this will come in handy because there are some times where you can run into clashes with names of classes due to Unreal itself not really supporting namespaces all that well. So we will be following the same naming structure that we'll see in the C++ side of things. Now, there are going to be a lot of similarities between C# and C++, as well as C# and Blueprint. The functions that we're going to be calling are going to be the ones that are exposed to Blueprint from C++, but you're going to see a lot of naming that is similar to C++, as well as the attributes are going to take place of the macros that you would use in C++. For example, in C++, in order to expose or register with the reflection system and expose that class to Blueprint, you would do something like that. However, in this just registers it to the reflection system, and then you'd use a specifier in here, something like blueprintable and blueprint type, something like that. All right. Now, in C Sharp, we don't have macros, but we have attributes. So we just do the attribute. Now, this will expose it to the reflection system as well as to Blueprint. So you don't need to add in anything with blueprintable and blueprint type. All right. So next, let's go ahead and create some properties. We're going to just do a very basic speed property, and at this time, Unreal does not know about this property. In order to expose it, an attribute uProperty. Now, what we need to do so Blueprint can use it is add in some property flags. So something like Blueprint edit anywhere, and then we want Blueprint read write, for example, and this is how you would do it in C# to expose it to Blueprint, so another Blueprint could actually interact with this property. Now, I do want to stress it is very, very important that it is an actual property and not just a field. Behind the scenes, the C# plugin actually relies on this getter and setter to call the backing C++ field that gets created for you. If you're familiar with the C++ side of things, you would do uProperty, and then it would be edit anywhere, and then Blueprint read write. So this is how it would look in C++, and this is the equivalent in the C# plugin. All right, so now let's go ahead and create some components for our actor. For example, let's say we wanted to have a static mesh, right? We would do public, that shouldn't be capitalized, public use static mesh component, and then we'll just call this static mesh component, and then get set, and in here we could do uProperty again, and we want this to be a default component equals true, and then we want this to also be the root component. Now, if you're not familiar with C++, typically in order to create a default component, you have to set it in the constructor. You also have to set the root component. This stuff is automatically generated for you if you're more used to Blueprint, but this part is very important. All right, so you can only have one root component, but for anything that should be a default component, you need this right here. All right, so now let's also show how we can do attachments. Let's just use this box component, and then here we can do uProperty. It's a default component equals true. Attachment component, this is the component we want to attach the box component to. We would do name of static mesh component. And if you're not familiar with C#, what name of does is it's going to stringify whatever is passed in. All right, so now we have a root component, that's the static mesh component, and we have a box component, which is a child of the static mesh component. If you're not familiar with what the box component is, it is how we do the collisions, more or less, like triggers and things like that. All right, so this is actually quite a lot of stuff. So let's go ahead and just get this built, and we can start looking at some other features of the plugin. So I'm just going to press Shift F10, which will run it, or you can come up here and press play or build it in your editor of choice. Now, when I come in here, I created a folder here uh, for all of our stuff. So I'll right click and go to Blueprint class, go to all classes, then let's look for our act. Oh, look, it doesn't show up. Sometimes you will have to come up here and tell it to actually hot reload the C sharp. Now when you come in here, Blueprint class, then we'll do example. Here is our C sharp derive, or our C sharp actor. This is our class right here. So we'll just call this BP example actor. Then we can open this. Let me go ahead and dock this. Change this to on success only. And here we have our speed. We have the static mesh component. We have the box component. So here we can set this to whatever we want. Let's look for a cube. And this is fine. Whatever, it doesn't really matter all that much. And then, like I said here, we can get speed. This is our little variable behind the scenes. So now, if we go up to the class defaults, we see speed right here. Let's go ahead and add another property. We're going to do public float age, sure. No rhyme or reason to this part. Then we're going to add in edit anywhere, read write. I'm gonna go ahead. This part doesn't really matter all that much. So now we have the age right here, and I never had to shut down the editor. We can even add whole new functions. So let's go ahead and do that. We can do public void do thing, and then let's just print to the screen hello, and this is going to do exactly what you're used to in Blueprint when you're doing print string. Now, in order to make this callable inside of Blueprint and expose it to the reflection system, you have to use ufunction, and then you need to use Blueprint callable. All right, so we'll do that, and then we'll pull this up and then do thing. And again, I did not have to shut down the editor. This is a huge deal. Now again, I do want to stress that this plugin is still in active development, so it's not production ready. So crashes may still occur and things like that. All right, so we can even change this to have some we can even do inputs. So let's go ahead and create this Blueprint callable public void example args. We can do int new speed. Then we can do let's just say let's do an out parameter. For example, we would just do out actor, that's fine. And then we can do actor equals null, sure. And we do all that. So now we just do example args. And we have the out parameter as well. You can also set a default, so we can do 30 right here. No, let's go ahead and do that. little thing with C#. Any default params need to be the last part of it. So we do that. This is okay. This is just, it's just saying that it failed because of that error that I had in C#. And as you can see, we now have that default parameter. So something else that we can do inside of this plugin is create latent actions. So if you're familiar with async await, we can do that inside of this plugin. So let's go ahead and create public task int do thing async. And inside of here, we're just gonna print string starting async, and then we're going to await task dot delay. We'll do 300, and then after this, you want to do configure with Unreal context. Let's go ahead and make this async. And then we'll do print string finish async. All right. And then let's go ahead and expose this just like the other ones. Blueprint callable. All right. And what is this complaint about? Oh, return statement. Yeah, we'll just return 3 because we are saying we're going to return something. So now I'm going to press save on that. And then I named this do thing async, and we have an asynchronous node. So I know that's a lot to take in, but some of these might be confusing, and you're wondering how I know what it is to type. It's because this follows how to expose things in C++, and I'm fairly comfortable with C++ and Unreal. I will link in the description below a website that kind of goes over all these parameters, but do keep in mind that it is doing it in the context of C++. All right, so you just need to be able to convert just a little bit using this kind of nomenclature. So function flags and property flags, etc., etc. All right. Now, this plugin supports interfaces, it supports enums, it supports structs as well. It even supports delegates. All right. So if you're coming from the Blueprint land, a delegate is going to be an event dispatcher. All right. So let's just come up here. We'll do public delegate void example delegate, sure, and we'll even have something else here. Now, what we want, you guessed it, an attribute. We need this to be called uMultiDelegate. And now inside of here, what we'll need to do is do a tMulticast delegate. And then it's a generic, and inside here we're going to put the type of the delegate that we want. So in this case it'll be example delegate, and now we're going to create the name for the delegate. So thing happened, right? And we're going to expose this using uProperty, Blueprint assignable, and Blueprint callable. I do want to stress, if you're new to these flags, and this is in C++ as well, this is the only property that can be Blueprint callable. All right, so now we created that, and if we go to the class defaults and come to the very bottom, it doesn't look like it actually anything actually showed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to force the recompiling of the C#, come in here, and here it is. And if we wanted to broadcast it, we'll just do thing happened. So it is a very easy workflow. It integrates very seamlessly, and overall, it is a really, really exciting plugin. Now, again, I want to stress that this plugin is in active development. It is not production ready. You can play with it, but it is not safe to make a production level game with it. It supports multiplayer as well. It even supports packaging. In order to package, the first thing that you would want to do is package your game like normally, and then you come into the little helper actions and click package project. So package your game normally, and then use the C# tool to package your project. All right, so let's go through some other examples of things that we can do, right? You'll notice that a lot of the times something may not be obvious on where it lives, and this is, if you're familiar with the C++ side of things, you're more than likely comfortable with figuring out where a blueprint function is being called from. So something that is really common is line trace by channel. This is something that is very, very common to do, right? A simple line trace. Now, if you look at this description right here, you see target is Kismet system library. And this is going to be true on an overwhelming majority of nodes that you will see in Blueprint. So this tells you where this node is actually being called from. All right, so in the Kismet system library. So in here, what we can do is system library dot line trace by channel. Now, some of these things you'll see that it wants a world context object, and if you're not familiar with the C++ side of things, a lot of things do need this because it's how it gets the world for in order to do something inside of the world. In Blueprint, this is often hidden from you. So very often, very, very, very often, you can just type in this and that will satisfy that condition. But it needs to be something that has access to the world. All right. And then you can fill out the rest of the information as well. All right. So now let's go ahead and get rid of that, and then we can do thing, and then we'll test some of the stuff that we've written right after async. And then on the completed, we'll do another one, really completed. All right, so then we'll bring this in here, press play, hello, starting async right after async, and then we see in the top left that everything printed as expected. All right, now that covers the general gist of this plugin and some of the things that you can do with it. Again, I want to stress that this plugin is in active development. All right, so expect it to crash. It's become a lot more stable over this year. Expect some things not to work exactly as you would expect, but the community behind this plugin is very receptive, and it is a really wonderful time to check out this plugin. I would advise that you do have some experience with Unreal before using this plugin, as some things will not make sense unless you have that kind of understanding. Now, the goal of the plugin is so you can use C# as a scripting language to replace the Blueprint side of things. You will not replace C++ with this. C++ is still an integral part of Unreal. You will be able to do the goal is to be able to do anything that you can do in Blueprint inside of this plugin, and no forks required. It is going to be a drop-in solution for scripting. Again, I do want to stress this is an inactive development. I want to stress that so much because I don't want people to have the wrong idea to try and start making games with this and get upset that something is broken or anything like that. It is in active development. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I will link a couple of resources in the description below as well. Thank you, and see ya, nerds.